Okay, guys, so I watched The Deliverance, and here are my thoughts. So, obviously, this is the reunion of Monique and Lee Daniels, which is like long awaited if you keep up with the entertainment industry. And I know that there are a lot of mixed reviews about the movie. I don't feel like it was scary. I feel like it kind of was funny and it was like spiritual, but it still was a good movie to me. I would give it like a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I definitely feel like these four women were great actresses in the movie. Also, the three people who played the kids, the three young people who played the children, they did amazing. So the movie really did have good acting, and there were a few scenes that stuck out to me and stuff that I want to discuss. So from this point forward, there will be some spoilers in the review slash recap of the movie. Andra Day is truly a double threat. That woman can sing and act her ass off. And my personal favorite character in the movie was Alberta, played by Glenn Close. She was so funny. Now let's talk a little bit about the real story that this movie was inspired by. So this movie was set in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but where the actual incident that it was inspired by occurred was Gary, Indiana, to the Ammons family, Latoya Ammons, Ammons. So I'm just giving y'all this info so if y'all want to look it up for yourselves. So Latoya, her mom, and her three kids had moved into 3860 Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana. And they started to have a lot of weird occurrences, such as the banging on the basement door, the horseflies on the porch during the winter, and even her DCFS personnel seeing her son crawl up the wall, allegedly. In 2012, Latoya and her family moved from Gary to Indianapolis, and they said that the event stopped after that. In 2014, a ghost hunter named Zach Baggins purchased the house for $35,000 and demolished it by 2016 after he filmed a documentary in the house called Demon House and felt like it was too dangerous to ever be lived in again, so he just demolished it. Okay, so now that I've given you guys the background and the true story, let's talk about some scenes in the movie that stood out to me. So from the beginning, we could see that Ebony, who's played by Andra Day, and Alberta, who's played by Glenn Close, have a very tumultuous relationship and dysfunctional relationship. Obviously, Alberta is white and she has a biracial daughter and a whole black family, and she's around a whole black community, so that's interesting. And we can also see that Alberta is saved, so she's now like a born-again Christian, but she used to be on drugs and into a lot of stuff, and Andra grew up with that, and now the generational curses are passing down to her with her children, because now she drinks, and when she drinks, she gets a little abusive with her children as well. And Ebony ate that scene. Them boys was messing with her son. She went over there and fucked that little boy up, as she should. He was a character that I really enjoyed too. Her son Nate, he was the oldest. Obviously once he got possessed, he wasn't my favorite anymore, but the early him was great. He was hiding the alcohol from Andra because she drinks a lot. He had money from his dad that he was saving up, talking about he was trying to leave. And he just was always looking out for his siblings and the family, but he was definitely getting tired of Ebony shit. Then after Ebony beats up the little boy for fucking with her son, she tells him, call your mom, I'll rock that hoe too. Period. Another scene from this movie that I really loved and that stood out and was aesthetically pleasing was the three generations braiding their hair. So Alberta was sitting on the couch, Andra was sitting on the floor, and Alberta was doing Andra's hair. But then Andra also had Shantae in between her legs, and she was braiding Shantae's hair. So it was like the three generations braiding each other's hair, which in a black household is so comforting. So I love that scene. Also, how they all were reciting the words to that movie, it shows that that's like a movie that's been in their family for generations. They always watch that movie together, to the point that Alberta, Andra, and Shantae all know the words to the movie. Like, we all have family traditions like that, just different songs and different movies. Omar Epps was Alberta's love interest in this movie, and it was funny because at some point Ebony told Alberta, like, oh, you just like every other white bitch, you cook your collard greens and play your Stevie Wonder and fuck all these black men, but you really just like all of them. You down with niggas until it's really time to be down with niggas, you fake bitch. Like, it was crazy. Their relationship was OD. It also was revealed that the children's father had accused Ebony of abusing them when she gets drunk, which is why she has the CPS case, which is how we get introduced to Monique, who is the CPS worker. So you could tell Cynthia, who is Monique's character, is not playing with Ebony, Andra's character. And you could tell she just sick of her. She like, the kid talking about he got whooped by the whole playground. It's unexplained bruises. They not in school. Blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm getting tired of you. Another funny and memorable scene, they had a birthday party for Shantae, the daughter, and Ebony got extremely drunk. So her friend Asia was there. And Asia was like telling the son, I got your whole wardrobe, because she a booster. She work at Saks. And then she was like, speaking of that, it's time for me to go because I got a job to get to at 9 a.m. And Ebony was trying to get her to stay, like, oh, take one more shot, this, that, and the third. And she was like, your drunk ass needs to go to bed, and I hope you make it to your job in the morning. And Ebony gonna tell Asia, oh, well, I hope you get caught tomorrow boosting. Like, what? And then Asia was like, okay, you stink pussy, bitch. And that night, something unexplained happened. She started hearing banging, and she thought that it was the kids. So she went into the kids' room, like, going off. But apparently, she, like, threw them against the wall, and, like, she had a blackout. So Alberta came in to like save the kids, and they was like scared. They was like, I don't know what's wrong with mommy. She just threw us against the wall. She bugging the fuck out. And Alberta was like, get the fuck out. Like, get away from my grandkids. because I think Alberta was just relating this to her being drunk, but it really was something supernatural going on and like the possession. So then we get introduced to this lady down here, and you could tell that she's like following the family around. And Ebony and Alberta thought she was working with Cynthia, but she actually was a pastor who had some history with this house, and she was trying to protect Ebony and her family. So the same day that they first noticed this lady following them, all three of the kids have these incidents at school. The little boy shits on the floor in class and throws the shit at his teacher. The little girl, it looked like she started having her period and she just started letting the blood drip down. And she said something to her teacher that frightened him and made him get himself and the whole class out of the room. And then the older boy was just laughing in his teacher's face while she was talking about AIDS. And then she was like, my brother died from it, like it's not funny. And he kept laughing in her face. So they all end up going to the hospital to get evaluated, but the doctor comes up with the fact that there's nothing wrong with them. So now we see Ebony washing the little boy's hair, and she's calling to Alberta because she hears her phone ringing. Alberta doesn't answer, so Ebony leaves the little boy in the tub and says, I'll be right back. Let me go get my phone. When she goes down there, her and Alberta have words because she's like, oh, you didn't hear my phone ringing, and she sees that Alberta is putting up a cross. And she's basically telling Alberta, like, I remember who you really are. This cross is just a fix, like it's just a band-aid for what you really got going on. Ebony goes back upstairs to find the older brother basically trying to drown the little brother in the tub. So she calls out to Alberta. Alberta runs up there and they, get him off of him, and it's just a whole thing. So Cynthia comes back the next day and Ebony is of course frazzled because of what happened last night. So she just breaks down and tells Cynthia, like, it's something here killing my kids and I know you don't believe me. And she was like, maybe if you had kids of your own, you would understand. And Cynthia told her, I did have a son named Julian and he died when he was 7. I took my eyes off of him for 1 second and he got hit by a car. So black women to black women, I don't like seeing women take advantage of their kids or take their kids for granted like you're doing, because I don't have the choice. I don't have my kid anymore. So Alberta comes downstairs with a bat and these short shorts on, basically telling Cynthia to get the fuck out the house. And then she sees this lady sitting outside too, and she starts hitting her car with the bat like, I know you working with Cynthia, get the fuck away. So the next day, this lady pulls up to Ebony's church and pulls her to the side, and she's like, listen, I'm not working with Cynthia, and explains the situation, like, we need to sit down and talk at a diner. And she's like, listen, I'm a pastor. I worked with a family that lived in your house 20 years ago. And what ended up happening was that the mom ended up ending herself and her whole family, her husband and her 2 kids. While Ebony is talking with this lady, Alberta is being attacked by the demon. And Ebony comes home to find the cross that Alberta put up on fire, and Alberta is dead. And she knows that it's by the hands of Dre, which is the little boy, because he has told her that he has this imaginary friend named Trey in the house who lives in the basement. And now this lady told her that the son who died in that old family, his name was Trey. So his imaginary friend is the demon ghost of the family from 20 years ago who lived in the house and got taken out. So at this point, Cynthia is starting to come around to Ebony and realize that something else is going on in this house. So she goes to see the little boy Dre in the hospital. He starts telling her he knows Julian, her son that died, talking in these crazy voices. Then he breaks the restraints and climbs up the fucking wall. So now she's definitely convinced. Ebony breaks into the hospital and kidnaps Dre with the help of this lady outside as the getaway driver. And when they go to perform the deliverance or the exorcism on him, he transforms into the ghost of Alberta, which is where she said the infamous "I smell your nappy pussy" line. Okay, so I ran out of time, but it's only 20 minutes left. Like I said, 7 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.